a very budget lens from the Meikes and a difference between the original budget lenses. I called up my buddy Eddie and we ended up doing some tests at one of the local rental houses here in Toronto, Habibi Films, and they basically let us come by and play with some of their gear for me to test for some future projects coming up. Kind of put a little bit too much on my plate, had a lot of things going on. They said we could play the whole day. We almost did. What I wanted to do definitely for the community, and I'm gonna have to, I will apologize right now, I think we have to do it again, only because since we were a bit of a rush, we didn't exactly prepare. We decided to use the Arri Mini because that is a camera I am going to think about using for a project coming up soon. And I haven't played with the Mini a lot, and I guess that could be one of the variables I probably should have thought of before doing the lens test. We weren't very familiar with the way that the peaking worked on the EVF of the Alexa Mini. So a lot of these shots, and I apologize right now again, are going to be a little out of focus. It looked in sharp to us in the little monitor, so even though I stumbled, I am still sharing my learnings. It's just good to, make the mistakes now and then kind of stumble and pick yourself up for the next part. So here we go. So we put the Arri Alexa Mini at its native index at 800. It's at 180 degrees shutter speed. We are filming at a 23.97 frame rate, and we're using a 5600K white balance on the camera. If you're wondering about the lighting setup, we used a bead board on the right side of the camera, left side of my face here. We have a 300x by aperture to dial in the temperature, and I wanted to put this 150 Arri light behind me as a little bit of a hair light, and unfortunately we were trying to kind of do a little flare and it didn't work the way we were doing it. As I was stating earlier, we did kind of do this test a little fast, so the setup was very quick. It was at the end of our test day, and that is my fault, an apology to you all, but again, I wanted to still let this out and come back and do another one down the road. Yes, I took off my mask for you all to see how it falls off. We're still, still in the world of the pandemic. Masks are great, but anyways, I didn't shave, and I apologize for that. In Davinci here, the settings I am using, let me go ahead and click down here just to show you. I'm using the color management manage system. I'm color processing it at a Rec 2020 and outputting it at a Rec 709. I'm leaving that basically alone. I didn't want to make any adjustments for the lenses. I did not want to do any color correction. I will note that I am not a colorist. I do like to color my own footage, but I'm definitely not at the high level of many colorists that I've seen and met. Now, I will note I have made the Meikes look really good. I've made Zeiss lenses look really good in the past, and that's with either we did a little more, obviously more work, or I had a really good DIT that helped us kind of adjust the color to make them look beautiful. So it's not, they say that neither lenses are good or bad. It's really just to kind of show you the differences between a very budget lens from the Meikes and a difference between the Zeiss lenses, which are considered the original budget lenses. Okay, so I put the waveform here for you all to see. What you're seeing right now, you are seeing the Zeiss 21 and the Meike 24. The set that we had at the rental house did not have a 24mm Zeiss lens, and I just wanted to kind of compare a close enough lens. The Zeiss 21mm lens opens at a t-stop of a 2.6. So unfortunately, that is not a fair comparison because the Meike 24mm is at a T2.1. Let's move on to the next lens. So this next lens here is the 35. And the 35mm lens here is a little bit better of a comparison. The Zeiss 35 is rated at a T2, and the Meike lens is rated at a T2.1. So you shouldn't have that big of a difference. So looking at the waveform, you're starting to see some very interesting differences between the two lenses here. Let's make a quick window to find out what area this is. I'm blanking out where that is. So I'm just going to quick circle window here. I'm just going to go ahead and just isolate just the window so you can find out where this area is. So it looks like that's just the window. Okay. So the window looks like we have over here, there's a big difference. There's a lot more red coming out of the Meikes. And as you can see that, and there's also a little bit of green also kicking up, where in the Zeiss, it's a little bit more controlled. I believe this wave lines, these really prominent lines that are on both lenses, you can see here, is the couch but you can see how there's a big difference here in the mids, right? Meike's look to have a little bit more of a higher mid section than the Zeiss. Here kind of comes lower. What that tells me is there's a little bit more contrast coming out of the Zeiss lens than there is out of the Meike. Regardless of color, what you're seeing is like it's a little bit lighter in the darks than it is here. So in the Zeiss, it's a little bit darker, a little more crisp. You know, I do find in general when we do get these in focus, the Zeiss are a lot more crisp and sharp. Being sharp lens has its benefits for certain projects, and being sharp has its disadvantages for certain projects. So really it comes down to how you want your project. For a lot of my narrative work, I really do like the softness that the Meike's offer to your projects. Yeah, so that's actually kind of neat to see here and really see it side by side. Now, again, I know we're a little out of focus, but outside of that, that is what I've learned over the time of using them, because I have rented Zeiss glass in the past for commercial work, and commercial work, you definitely, most of the time, my clients love it when it's like tack sharp. So here's the 50 lens. Obviously, we're getting closer. Let's look at the coloring here. Let's skip over, you know, the fall off, because I think out of focus currently on the Zeiss throws off how the fall off looks, because it's softening it from being out of focus. It's a good thing to know that the 35 Meike and the 50 Meike have the same contrast ratio, it looks like. So let me dive between the two of them here for you guys. So here's the 35, and obviously when we zoom in, it's going to change again. And I'm looking at the waveform here of the couch, and it's because it's pretty prominent in the waveform. You can see these three lines here. Red, green, and blue. Green and blue are pretty well balanced, and I'm looking at the exposure here, and it basically hasn't moved from the 640 line, if we're going to just look at it by the number of the line here. Nice to see that going between the 35 and the 50, you're not going to lose, you know, or change up the light. It's not going to change in any way. And it looks like the color rendition of the 35 and the 50 of the Meike. I'm going to go back to the 24 and do that same comparison. So 24, 35, and the 50. It's nice. I think the 50 actually looks even less greenish, actually. Tell me what you guys think, but I really feel like it's slightly less green. You know, when I'm doing a comparative, a narrative project, I typically have a DIT or DMT with me that's, you know, help me dial this in a little bit better as well. Plus, when we get into the color grade, we go beyond the picture image a little bit, and you know, as long as it's not super jarring, we fix it in post pretty well. All right, and that's a statement that a lot of people don't want to keep saying, fix it in post. All right, so here's the 85. So we got the 85 actually both in focus about the same. So this is a nice comparison for the 85 between the two. Yeah, so right now between the Meike and the Zeiss 85 here, again, we're at T2.1 85, and yeah, you know, honestly, the fall off looks the same to me. The fall off on the Zeiss looks consistent as it does with the other lenses of this Zeiss package that we were utilizing. And the Zeiss fall off on the 85 actually looks better to me than the 50. Going back to the 50 and the 35, actually the 35 is more harsh than it was on the 85. The 85 doesn't look as harsh of a fall off than on the Zeiss lenses than the 35. So I actually like how this 85 looks on the Zeiss. Very nice. The one thing that's very interesting, I think I'm just laughing. Let's see if I can find this problem. I'm not laughing here. I have a round face anyways, but here's some interesting comparison. If you look at my face, the Meike 85 still looks a little bit wider. Like my face is stretched a little bit. I don't know if you can see that, but I think I have the same smile smirk a little bit, but I don't think my face is going to change that much. My cheeks will change, but my face? On the Zeiss, my face looks long. It looks like what an 85, or if you start jumping past 85, the 105, the 135, your face should start shrinking in and, you know, becoming more narrow, right? And on the Meike glass, it looks like it stayed the same. I want to wonder, let's back up to the 50. To the 50, my face looks like it shrunk, and the 85 looks like it re-widened. Oh, this is interesting. And right there looked nice. I guess I just, maybe it's a rotation of my head. I don't know. That just seems. That's what I'm seeing. If you guys see it, tell me. If you don't, tell me. But right now I'm looking at it and my face looks like it's a little bit wider than on the other lenses for the 85 Meike lens. So that's an interesting notice here of my face. It was a down and dirty test. It was a quickie test. I really was going to the rental house to test out other things, and the lenses I had in my car, I knew I wanted to test them. I was kind of in a rush at that point. Went out to my car, ran back inside, and we did a really quick throw onto the camera and just like try them out. And I really wish I would have taken more time on it, and that's on me. You know, I let this out. Hold on, the camera's falling here. Yes, it is. Ah, there we are. So again, that's just on me. I did that to myself. I didn't take the time to really give a really good test for the lenses, and you know, time is a lot of money. That's that. Hope you guys enjoyed that little bit of quick test. But next time, I'm gonna reach out to some people that I know who have the Zeiss Supreme primes, and I really want to test out the expensive glass versus the Zeiss, and versus these Meikes, and really see the difference between the two. But you know, overall, I am still pretty happy with how the Zeiss handle themselves. They're just a little bit on the yellow side. So till next time, guys, have a great day and keep shooting.